everyone, welcome to our first Dracule Hobby Center video in English. We've been doing deck techs in Spanish for a very long while, and now we're going to start doing them in English as well as in Spanish, of course. So if that's content you're interested in, please subscribe to the channel. We do deck techs for One Piece. That's the content we are going to be doing in English. You will also see the content in Spanish, so you can ignore that content or use it to practice your Spanish, whatever you feel like. But today we have kind of a different deck. We're going to be doing a OP2 Crocodile deck that's been winning some tournaments in OP3 in Japan. And it's really interesting. It's kind of anti-meta. I like it a lot against Whitebeard, which is a deck a lot of people are playing. You're going to see why in a minute. And well, let's get down to it. So of course we're using the starter deck Crocodile. His special ability is that Don -4 once per turn in your active main. You can return a character card with a cost of 5 or less to its owner's hand. So see, that's a great ability to seal off games. You can return blockers to the opponent's hand, or you can return threats so that you can attack the board without having to worry about the threats that are currently in the board. Especially good against green, and especially good against a couple of drops of Whitebeard. And it's also good against black, because black, you can't KO them, but you can return them to the hand. So if they have a pesky smoker or something that you can't deal with and you can't kill him, you can just return it to the opponent's hand, and then you've got an open board if it's not something with rush. It even works against maybe Luffy rush if you have a couple of 2k counters in your hand and you want to get rid of it, and you know you can block maybe a 9k or 10k next turn, but not a really huge Luffy. You can also return it. So it's a very nice ability, and it's a nice character, you know. So a lot of people want to play Crocodile. Maybe this is the way to do it. So if you like him, stay tuned. This is going to be a pretty cool deck tech. We're playing 4. I'm going to start with these events. These are the only events the deck plays. It plays 4 Arabesque Brick Fist. It's also really, really nice. In your main phase, you can return 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to its owner's hand, and it costs 2. And the best part of it is that it also has trigger, which activates the main card effect. So if they hit you with something and this comes out of the trigger, you can bounce up anything that's threatening you, maybe whatever they use their Dawn up this turn to play. And if not, you can just play it in your turn. It's 2 Dawn cost, so it's not that much. And this is especially good against Whitebeard. That's what I was telling you. The Straw Hat Whitebeard plays a lot of 4 cost characters that are just 6Ks to keep up pressure. And with this card, you just simply return those Frankies or the 6K Luffys to their hand, and he really, really sends them back a couple of turns. So that's really, really good against Whitebeard. I like it. We're playing 3 Pacifista. We're playing the Pacifista because we play him with Sentomaru. So he's a 6k threat that helps us a lot against, you know, he's dealing with the Sorrow threats, he's dealing with the Whitebeard threats. He can hit Whitebeard without any Dawn commitment. So we're playing 3 of him just to get him out with Sentomaru, of which we're of course playing 4. This is a card that everybody loves. It's really, really strong. It has a big payoff, but you don't see that much play because it needs in a specific deck. Here it's pretty good for a couple of reasons. One, well, you've seen we can grab the Pacifistas. We also play 1 blocker in case we need to maybe that turn play down a Sento and also have a blocker in play to block a really big attack. But Sento is especially good now because it's a big threat for Sorrow. Sorrow plays a lot of 2k, 3k characters. And before we needed to commit Dawn to make Sento a threat. Now he basically with 1 Dawn we can search, and he's a 5k dealing with all those 3 and 2ks. So he's a bit better now. That maybe in OP1 more playable, and it's a card people are not expecting. He's 4k, so he's right outside of Vista's removal. So basically, if your opponent wants to deal with him, which they a lot of times do because, you know, Sento deals a lot of pressure, they're going to use an Otama, and then they're going to use a Vista, and then he's already profit because with 3 Dawns, you've used up 2 of his cards and 4 Dawns of his resources. So I really like him, and he has some great plays. You know, this big 6Ks coming after a 4K body really affects the Sorrow players. I still have to practice a lot against Sorrow. We have a couple of gameplay videos. Sadly, those are in Spanish, but where I was not very successful against him. I think I need to practice a lot more my blue plays. I've been playing mostly Garp, but I think this deck can be solid. It just needs a lot more practice, especially because the couple of cards I'm going to show you right now. So we play 4 Ivankov. Every time I play this guy, I never use the draw up to 3 cards ability, which I think it's part of the best part of the card. And I think that's because I'm thinking more of a 4 life character. I'm not blocking that much, and maybe when I get to play Ivankov, I have a full hand I have a full hand, so I'm not getting use of that ability. And I'm also not playing that well the Luffys. The Luffys, every time they stick in my hand, and I think it's a card that's really powerful, and I should really be playing more often. He's a big threat, and he also has some great bouncing abilities. So these 2 cards I think are great, but need practice. So I think that's what I need to improve to get better at this deck. I had pretty good results against Whitebeard and against green decks. I think it's really powerful. I just think you need to play it really well to be able to beat that Zoro, which is, all of us know, it's really stable deck. Next up, we have 4 Doflamingos. He's amazing. He's a blocker, 3 duns, 4K, so he's also outside of Vista range, outside of Whitebeard's ability, right where you want it, and he also organizes the top 5 cards of your deck. So that's an amazing ability. We always want to know what we're gonna draw up next, and maybe send, or if we're not getting good draws, just send everything down and look for better draws up next. Now we have a couple of 2K counters. We have Mihawk. We already know if we're breaking a lot, if we're getting a bunch of Ivankovs and Luffys, we can play the Mihawk just to draw 2 and trash 2, but he's mostly going to come up as a 2K counter. Same as Mr. 2. We play him just because he has 2K counter, and he's especially good because he's impel down, and of course we are playing the 4 Buggies. So Buggy is really nice. He's a 2K body, which is again pretty important now that Zoro is the best deck along with Whitebeard, because he's also a big threat to those 1 and 2 costs, so they actually have to deal with him. And he just searches up for whatever we need. If we need Ivankov, we grab him. If we need a Luffy, we grab him. And if we need any 2K counter, well, we can grab Mr. 2. So he's pretty good because of that. And he can also grab the Inazumas, which is an amazing blocker. This is another reason why I think you should be countering every time you can. Bring your card, your hand down a lot, because Ivankov is going to draw you up, and also Inazuma is going to be more powerful. So although it's counterintuitive, and I think that's why it's a bit harder to play this deck, is that you want to be using up the cards in your hand. Whether if you're playing Garp or if you're playing another leader, you really don't want to be with no cards in hand, because then it's just a really easy game for your opponent. This deck kind of wants it, so you just got to find a balance there, and that's going to be the real trick when playing this deck. Now we have 4 Alvidas. This in OP3 changes to be the 1 cost 2K counter card that lets you draw 2 and trash 2. She's just so much better in the sense that this deck may brick, because if you have a bunch of Luffys and a bunch of Ivankovs and a bunch of Mihawks, which we play 3 of course, then you want to be able to, just for 1 dawn, draw 2, trash 2, organize your hand. So that's the obvious change in the next set when OP3 comes out. But for now, Alvida is pretty good. She can trash a card from your hand, which is something I just told you we're okay doing in this deck, and she bounces opponent's characters. So this is the deck that's very tempo-ish, so you want to be bouncing all the opponent cards all the time. So she can also function as that, like that second part of the card, or she's just a 2K counter. Next we have 3 Mihawks. We know him from the beginning. He returns a character cost 7 or less to the bottom of your opponent's library, so that's pretty amazing. And he's a 9K body, so he deals with those big threats like the big Whitebeards and maybe the Odins. You have a big body to deal with them, so that's pretty good. And he also sends the 7 cost blocker kid down to the bottom of your opponent's library, and that is game over for green. Like if you do that in a good position where you've been tempoing him and you got some pressure, he plays that to save himself, you play a Mihawk, it's basically game. So really amazing card. That's why we play 3. Don't be afraid to trash him if you don't need him in certain matches. For example, with Luffy, if you're playing against red, just drop Luffy, trash these guys, return something, and next turn apply Pleasure with Luffy's ability with a double attack. But he's pretty amazing in other matchups, so a bit bad against red. but we can organize our hand by trashing him or just getting him out. And lastly, we got 4 Crocodile. He goes really well with the Ivankov. And also because we can look for him with Buggy, so that means we don't miss that much. We have a lot of targets. We have Arabesque Fist, we have the Ivankovs, we have Luffy, we have Crocodile, we have Mr. 2, and we have the Inazuma. So we shouldn't be missing our Buggy searches. And Crocodile is just also an amazing follow-up to Ivankov if we do not need a Luffy, if we don't need to bounce anything. It's good to leave those 2 7k bodies down on the field. And if we go first, he's also just a simple, good third turn 7k body to deal with big pressure or anything our opponent is throwing at us. So that's the deck. Thank you for watching. If you like this English content, please comment below, and we will be very, very happy to start doing our deck techs both in Spanish and in English. And if you have any doubts, if you guys want to maybe test out in the simulator, we can also do that. So text us down there. We can add each other in Discord, and we're also always open for a couple of games. So thank you very much. Remember to like, and see you in the next video.